Like a good hit. I don't know if that's a bass. No, that's a great looking crappie. That's a good one. Look how dark he is.
Smaller.
Wowee. Right where you said you weren't going to.
Nice fish, good fish, good
He is
fish.
really dark, really dark.
Grady White Boats' reputation for designing ruggedly elegant fishing boats is legendary. Our attention to quality, detail, and customer service is unmatched. From our Fisherman 180 and Coastal Explorers series to the unrivaled Canyon 456, you'll find no boat that rides better and offers more fishing amenities. Go ahead, experience fishing at its best. Get the Grady.
Hello, welcome to the Carolina Outdoor Journal. Well, today's program is going to take us up to Lake Norman, and we're going fishing for crappie. But Joe, it turns into like a class. It's almost like going to school.
Well, if pay attention, whether you're a seasoned crappie fisherman or just getting into the sport, we're fishing with Jerry Neely, who's very well known in that part of the state, the Triad area of North Carolina, for crappie fishing, and he knows how to catch them, and he gives some pointers today. We were actually facing some weather conditions that we really didn't plan for, and so we had about 3 hours on the lake, and always looking over our shoulder, and you'll see because of the weather. And now this is spring. This is right when the fish are moving on the bed, so there's some big crappie. We didn't catch as many fish as Jerry had hoped to, but he does give us some good pointers, so pay attention today.
He'll also have some good pointers in gear time. And Donna's in the kitchen today with baked pheasant.
A baked pheasant recipe, which I've had. It's very good. Pheasant's really good on the table, and pay attention to that too.
Well, we got a lot going on. Let's go to school. It's time now for the Carolina Outdoor Journal.
Well, Jerry, it's towards the end of March. We've had some weather roll in. I mean, the crappie have been on the beds. I mean, Lake Norman. It's it was down for a little while. Now they have a great resurgence in crappie fishing. So I mean, how's things been, and what's the plan for the day on a day like with the weather rolling around?
Well, it's been great crappie fishing for the last 3 weeks. The fish were pre-spawn, and now they've moved into the coves and to the small docks that's been here a while, the older docks, and we're going to target some of these places today. Some of the places we'll target will be little small secondary points in about 2 feet of water, and we're looking for any kind of a dark spot like a stump or maybe a rock or something of that nature, limb, anything that would hold a fish. And these crappie, the way we're going to do it today is we're going to cast to them and wind back to the boat. And it's almost like bass fishing, not much difference. We're going to cast and wind back to the boat, and they will take the lure. We're going to use a hair jig, a 1/32 jig, and it's a real good, it's a handmade jig, and they're real good jigs. And I prefer water this clear. I prefer a white jig with either a red head or a green head. Now if the water's dingy or muddy, I like the yellow, white, and the red head on these type of jigs, and they work real well.
We'll try some of those techniques, and hopefully that big weather behind us will get out of the way, and let's go get some.
I hope we don't have to run up and jaws to death trying to catch a crappie today, but we're going to make it, okay.
All right, let's roll. Well, Jerry, obviously on Lake Norman, I mean, it's a lot of acreage. It's North Carolina's biggest lake. You got to help narrow it down. I mean, what are some of these other structures that you're looking at, like this, take example, this sandy point coming up. Is that worthwhile fishing?
This sandy point right here, in the past weeks, I've caught some 1.75 pound, 1.5 pound crappie off it. They stumps, dark places. And when you find one of these places, lots of times you can catch some really nice crappie off of them, but you have to really watch and look for the dark spots in the water. The crappie will hold real close to the dark spots or the stumps or rocks or whatever's out there, and usually you don't have too much trouble catching a crappie off some of these dark places.
So, like right here, obviously a pair of good polarized glasses are going to help you see those, so that's something you definitely want to bring along, because without them, I don't know if you could see those. Those are,
right.
Let's see maybe that one
so
right there.
What I always do is try to get on the other side of it. If you can, wind's blowing against me right now. It's kind of hard to catch these 30-second, but I don't want to get too close to them, because if you do, it's not good. And if you get too close, it's not
put them off, put them down.
Yeah, but there've been some nice
There's
crappie.
one, right off that point where you called it.
Yeah.
There's a crappie.
Yeah. Nice one.
That is a better one. Oh yeah. Well, just like you said, right off that dark spot, right on that point. He hit that pretty good.
Yeah.
Now that's a white crappie, correct?
That's a regular old dark spec normal crappie. That's not a white crappie.
Yeah, good fish. And he pounded that pretty good. There he goes.
But you see what I'm talking about, little sandy points. You find a little bit of structure on your sandy point and reel your fish in a lot of times, lots of times. And a lot of times they're very nice fish too. All right.
One of these, does it look like crappie? Oh, that's a good crappie.
Good crappie.
Yeah, that's
here.
the kind. That's what we come after.
This is what we're looking for finally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took a while.
That did make mine look little. Now that's a trophy crappie just about any lake we can come to. Now that's a really good one.
Well, we've been catching a lot of these crappie the last 3 weeks about this size or even bigger, and they've been right on the bank, and they're pretty easy to catch, but you have to be persistent, you know. And some days are better than other days. We catch a lot some days, and some days we have to fish real hard to catch them, but they're there. And these are the kind of quality crappie we catch on Lake Norman.
Yeah.
Good fish.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Good fish.
I need one like that.
All right, we'll let him go back in the water. All right, let's see if we got a crappie here. Maybe we have a big brim one.
Big brim?
Big old brim, shell cracker. This lake is full of these things, but they're a lot bigger than this. Some of them, I see them up to a pound. They're very big fish.
Big old shell cracker?
Yeah. And
we're catching a little bit of everything on these jigs.
yeah, that's a good jig.
Good jig is right.
Old crappie.
The big old crappie is right.
Good fish, good
There he
fish. I got one on.
Oh, we got
No.
it? Oh, yeah. Hey, I might have got the bigger one.
Yeah, I believe you did.
That's all right. That's a nice double. You get a lot of doubles?
Yeah,
Fine.
we get a lot of doubles when we find a little place where they're kind of congregating. While we usually get a 2 or 3, sometimes 4, in this time of year. But these are good fish here.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
spawners.
Yeah, really good. That's 2 out of it. Let's get another one. Now, Jerry, like any type of fishing, there's a lot of different factors. We talked about some of the structure, but what about that water depth in relation to this structure?
This time of year, the crappie, they'll come in and they'll hang out in small little nooks like this right here, and the water will be less than 4 feet deep. And so we kind of target 1 to 4 foot of water or 3 foot of water. And usually you'll go from shallow to deep when you're throwing your jigs. You hardly ever throw deep to shallow. It's always shallow to deep. And most of the time, the crappie, they're either roaming that bank or they're making their beds, and that's why we target that shallow water this time of year. And then in another week or so, these crappie will be gone out deeper, and they usually move to the first deep structure that they can find. And usually it's either a pier or maybe a big secondary point that's got stump or something on it you can't see. But they'll hold on something.
So that may be the less than 10 foot of water then, at that point.
Yeah, 10 to 12 usually.
10 to 12?
Yeah, 10 to 12 is a good starting point. That's a bass.
Another
God,
bass.
Nosy nose. Of all fish. If I fishing for
Good
one,
jumping
probably
though on
couldn't
that
catch
little
one.
rod though.
4 pound test might not get him in. That's a big one.
That is a good one.
But we got a smorgasbord on these dead again.
I'll tell you, Jerry, these jigs, we've caught just about everything on it. It's a nice bass on a little 4 pound ultralight. It's just a
These are great jigs. They really good jig, and they're built well, and they're built well, and they hold up real well.
yeah, that's a nice little spot for, you know.
It's a good bass.
Yeah. Nice bycatch.
All right, let's move on around over here and see if we can capture another one.
Now, Jerry, on Norman, I mean, obviously there's a dock every 10 feet or so. I mean, so if you tell someone to target docks, is there something in specific you're looking for, one versus another?
Well, one thing I like a lot of big wide docks. A lot of times a big wide dock with a lot of posts. The crappie seem to congregate around those more than they do the little narrow docks, but the older docks is really the key. The older docks seem to hold more crappie than a newer dock. And the only thing I can ever think about or come up with, the reason why is because the newer docks have the treated wood, and the treated wood may have the chemical that maybe burns the fish or does something to them, keep them from getting around that kind of structure. I'm not sure about that, it's just a guess. But there's something about a newer dock.
Definite difference, the old ones versus the newer ones.
Right.
Felt like a good hit. I don't know if that's a bass. No, that's a great looking crappie. That's a good one. Look how dark he is.
Spawner.
Wowee. Right where you said you weren't going to.
Nice fish, good fish, good
He is
fish.
really dark in color.
Spawner, yeah, good fish.
He hit it hard, no doubt about that.
Fish are right on in there. Go back
You're
in
definitely
there.
right about that slow wind. You know what I mean? You
Yep,
cannot.
you guys to slow it down.
Slow it down is right.
Right,
Get him
good
going.
fish, good fish. Yeah, there was another one in there, maybe. Yeah, oh yeah. Big old black crappie.
There's another big black one.
All right, good fish. Fish, I enjoyed catching that one. The big old black crappie, boy, they fight like almost like a bass. One thing about it, they're good to eat. I promise you, they out of Lake Norman, they're very good. All right, let's see if we can get another one.
That's the most we've caught off any one spot was right there.
Right,
You know.
sure. That was a good stop. That's a good place. It gives you a good feel for how to catch them on the lake around these stumps, and these real dark stumps that's in water like 2 feet deep or less is where the action's at, and that's what you have to target if you're going to be successful in this kind of fishing. It's just like I say, almost like bass fishing.
You know, we were talking about a lot of these different docks. Now, how do you go about picking, you know, there's so many coves on Lake Norman. How do you decide or, you know, figure out which ones to go into?
Well, a lot of the coves that I pick, I've fished it for many years, and I've learned over, you know, trial and error, but sometimes you really don't have to do that. Most of the spawning occurs in the last half of the coves, but you got to pick the coves that has cover. That's the key. If they don't have cover, a lot of times the fish won't be there. So when you're picking a cove, you need to find one that's got some cover.
Cover, which could be those docks, the trees, the rocks, any of that, or all of it.
Right, blow down stumps.
You know, we certainly have all that in here. Oh, that's a good one.
Good fish,
That's
good.
a real good one.
Good fish. Oh yeah, he's a nice one.
Want me to get him for you?
You want to get him?
I got him for you on this one. I want to be able to
Big
pick him
one.
up.
Good fish.
Don't take many of these to make a meal.
I guarantee you, they're wonderful to eat. I promise you. Lake Norman crappie are just the sweetest meat you've ever eaten.
Make some more.
Joe, Mother Nature will have her way.
And always, and yeah, we plan these trips out, so you never know what the weather's going to be. But that morning we hit the water and with threatening weather, and the wind was already picking up, so we couldn't go to the places, a lot of the places that Jerry wanted to fish. So we kind of put it tough on him to start with, but he showed how good he is, and in gear time today he'll share a couple of little secrets too. So pay attention to that. But we caught some pretty fish, not a lot of fish, but we caught some pretty fish that morning.
Let's find out about those secrets. Let's go to gear time.
Well, Jerry, we've had a great morning on Lake Norman, despite we've had a couple big nights of thunderstorms. You know, some cold weather's moved in, but the crappie bite was still on, and I really think this jig was the ticket.
These are good jigs. I get these jigs out of Catawba Tackle at Rock Hill, South Carolina. They're on the India Hook Road, and I've used these jigs for years, and they're great jigs. Any lake you go on, they're going to be productive, and I just want I guess tell the people that crappie fish, these are the kind of jigs that really catch crappie. And I'm not plugging the guy, but I'm just saying that these are great jigs, and they work well. These are 30 seconds, and you get them in 16ths in 30 seconds. And the type of stuff that I really do is I use these lightweight outfits that I use are very lightweight. These are 22s or 33s, either one you want to use, with 4-pound test line, and the rods are ultralight, and they're really good outfits for crappie fishing.
I had that little TFO rod, just a standard spinning rod. Again, a very lightweight 4-pound test, and then with that cold weather stuff, it did get a little bit tough. They were a little tighter to cover, but you added on that crappie niblet, and that definitely seemed to make a difference.
The crappie niblets are really something that's come on the last few years. It's something that I've kind of discovered by accident, and they work real well. I have done a lot of research as far as do they work or do they not work, and I know they work. And especially when the bite gets tough, the crappie niblets, they come into play, and they'll bite it more readily than it will just a regular jig when it's a tough bite. And this morning was a tough bite. Like I said, we had a lot of bad weather to roll in on us, and it's high winds, 10, 12 mile an hour winds. It's not easy to fish into, especially trying to cast a 32nd ounce jig.
Right.
And so it makes it a little difficult, but we have a fairly good morning, and the fish, I believe, cooperated as good as they possibly could under conditions that we're fishing.
Right, and definitely the polarized glasses, like you said, when you were looking for those dark spots, that's another extra little piece. You definitely want to have these, so you can just see where you're throwing.
Right. Well, this time of year, we know that the fish are on the beds, and naturally, when you go into a lake, you want to just cut that lake off and just go to the small tributaries and the little bitty coves and take that half of that cove and fish all the way to the back on both sides of the bank and look for your cover, rocks, stumps, stick-ups, or anything that would hold fish. And you're going to come out with a pretty good day if you do that and fish, religiously down through the banks and trying to accomplish what you're trying to do is catch your crappie. So that in the end, it's going to work out pretty good.
No, it's been a good day. I don't know if the weather's going to hold up. We might get another hour in. Let's see, what we can do. We'll sit here and see what happens.
I enjoyed it.
Well, me too.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jerry, for that information. I'll give you Jerry's phone number. If you'd like to go fishing, please give him a call. Now, let's catch up with Donna. She's in the kitchen with a recipe that Joe really likes. It's all about baked pheasant.
Hi, today we're making a baked pheasant in the kitchen, and it is one of those recipes that goes together really quickly, because that's the kind I like, and then you just put it in the oven, forget about it, pull it out, and dinner is ready, which is great. We're going to start out with 3 pheasant breasts that I have here, and this is some pheasant that my husband and my son shot when they went pheasant hunting, so they brought me some back, which I was greatly appreciative of. We're going to dredge the pheasant in some chicken butter, and then we're just going to pan fry this just until it's golden brown, just to kind of sear the outside, and then we're going to finish it off in the oven. So I'm going to get my oil onto my burner, and we are just going to take our pheasant breast and we're just going to dredge that into the chicken butter and just coat it really well, and then we're going to place it into our pan and sear that. So I think my oil is hot enough. There we go. And it'll take probably 4 or 5 minutes just to sear the outside. You don't want to totally fully cook this because we are going to put it in our oven and cook it for about 30 more minutes. So we'll go ahead and put those in. And then while that is searing, we're going to put together the other ingredients, which are really very simple, and usually you have these around your house. So there we go. We've got those in, and those are searing. And so we're going to take 1 clove of garlic, smash it, and we'll saute that slightly once our pheasant is browned on either side. So we're just going to take our clove, and I just like to cut off the very end here And then you don't even have to peel it. What you do is you take your knife and you place it down, and then you smash it with the palm of your hand. And then the peel comes right off, and you're ready to go. We're just gonna rough chop that really quick, and then we're gonna put that into our pan in just a few minutes. Then we're going to take a nice red apple, and this is a Rome apple, which is a really good cooking apple, which means it'll hold together when it's cooked. Some apples will kind of fall apart and get mealy, and you'll just end up with the skin, basically, and that's not what we want. So you make sure that you get a good cooking apple, and there is a little informational piece usually at the apple section of your grocery store, and just find a good cooking apple. So we're going to cut it in half, and then we're just going to slice it into slices, and we're going to saute these really quickly too. So we've got our pheasant is browning here, so I think we're going to give that a turn, even though it probably needs to brown just a little bit more, but we'll go ahead and turn it. And then we're going to toss in our apple slices. And we'll do the whole apple, but for right now, we'll just do that half. We'll put in our garlic. And then we're going to add about 1/4 of a cup of apple juice or apple cider. I like apple cider just because it has a little bit more flavor and a little more body to it. And about 1/2 cup of some chicken stock. We're going to cover this with a lid or a piece of aluminum foil, depending on what you have. Bake it in a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes until it's all cooked through, and it will smell so great in your house, and it will taste amazing as well. So you can see what it looks like when it's done. You can see the crispness on the outside, and if you want, at the end you can take off the foil or your lid for about 5 minutes and let it crisp back up if you'd like. And it has the great juice and your apples, and they're nice and tender, but they're still, you know, together. So I hope you enjoyed the baked pheasant, and I look forward to seeing you next time here on Simple Cooking.
Thanks, Donna, for that recipe. Joe, I got to agree with you. That was a good recipe.
It really is.
I want to go back up to the lake. A lot of crappie up there.
It really is. Lake Norman has had a resurgence here recently in numbers and the size of their crappie, and a lot of people are finding out about it. And again, this is one of the lakes that Jerry fishes on, and it's a big lake. It's one of the largest lakes in North Carolina, and he's got a lot of places he fishes. He fishes other lakes too. But I'd say his priority is the crappie, and he knows how to catch them. But lots of fish, a lot of big fish.
A lot of crappies, but our friends in Wisconsin, they would want us to say crappie, right?
Right, yeah. Depending on where you're from in the country, there are two ways of pronouncing. It's either crappie, or here in North Carolina, it's still crappie. But no matter what, and again, that day too, we did catch white and black crappie. There's two different varieties here in North Carolina. But no matter how you call them, they're great on the table and a lot of fun to catch.
I'll agree with that. For Joe Albee, I'm John Moore. Thanks for joining us today on the Carolina Outdoor Journal.
Make sure to visit our website for more information.
Grady White boats are known for uncompromising quality through exceptional attention to detail. On every model, from 18 to 45 feet, we incorporate exclusive features and quality components that you won't find on any other boat brands. Our exclusive CV2 hull design is ranked highest in every third-party survey done in the marine industry. So every day on the water will be a great day, no matter the conditions. Ask any Grady White owner and they'll tell you, get the Grady.